Shadow Binders is back in stock on shopclownfish.com. That's shopclownfish.com. And now on with the show. You better learn to get good or get out of gaming journalism. No, I just said that.
That was a way to start a video, I guess.
Oh, immediate downvotes. I can hear them. I can hear them rolling in.
What does a downvote sound like?
Boo!
Nope, that's not that. Maybe? Who knows? Is that what a downvote sounds like?
It sounds like Peach getting punched in the back of the head or something. Anyway, this is Neon.
Yeah.
I'm here with Squid King.
Hi.
For a change.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about...
I'm here. Every time we're here to talk about game journalists, here I come.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to talk about this Get Good situation. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not gaming journos should actually be able to play the video games that they are reviewing. Getting paid like...
So doing their job.
A lot of money.
Should game journalists be doing their job?
Should they be good at their jobs? Nobody's expecting them to break records or anything like that, but I have seen some videos of some game journos playing games that aren't terribly difficult, having a really hard time getting the basics down, almost as if they've never played any kind of game ever before, except like Pac-Man and Animal Crossing. Anyway, we're gonna talk about.
I mean, that's it. We don't need a video now. You summed up the whole thing.
Well,
thanks for watching, everybody.
Yep. Goodbye. No. We're gonna talk about it before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news and rants, guys. 206,000 subs. You have to say woohoo because Kiki's not here.
Woo-hoo. Did I do that right?
No, but that works.
I'm not your wife.
Yeah, I'm glad because that would be so wrong on so many levels. Anyway, Squid King is here to talk about games. Kotaku put this article out that Microsoft was calling for an end to Get Good, and apparently Double Fine was going crazy on Twitter trying to smack people down. The whole point of this being is that there is an invincibility toggle for Psychonauts 2. People are like, why are you making the game so ridiculously easy to beat? This has come up a lot lately. I was shocked to hear that, and I haven't played it yet. I was actually going to buy it. I was going to buy it this month, actually, that the new Ghosts and Goblins has a ridiculously easy mode. Like, you can't die in this game. And if you do die in the game, they ask you if you want to downgrade the difficulty. They call it accessibility, I guess is what they're calling it. Like, making really, really hard games very, very easy. Now, the question is whether or not you beat the game legitimately if it's a walkthrough.
So, now... this is a personal opinion, which are always, it's the internet. But
you're not allowed to have those.
I think that accessibility isn't necessarily the right word. Because when you think about accessibility, if we're looking at a building, right? If you want to make the building, wheelchair accessible, you add other options for people. This is essentially changing the very core of what it is. So it's not necessarily accessibility as much as it is like, I wouldn't say pandering, but like...
yeah, I mean, look, I have teeth marks in my Genesis, I sold it years ago, but my original Sega Genesis when I was a tot. A little older than a tot, but I had Ghouls and Ghosts, or Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts. Ghouls and Ghosts. Ghosts and Goblins was NES. Ghouls and Ghosts was for the Genesis, and we had Super Ghouls and Ghosts for the Super NES, and they were all really freaking hard. Ghouls and Ghosts, I put teeth marks in my controller because the game was so damn hard. I was so frustrated. Now, a year or two later, I learned they had an invincibility code for it. That would have made things a lot easier. I wouldn't have put teeth marks in my controller. But I learned to beat it. I didn't beat it the whole way through because you have to go through the game twice because it hates you.
Oh.
The game just absolutely hates you.
Just like real life.
Yeah, just like real life. I beat it once.
You go through it once until you're 18, then you have to do it again, except this time it's harder.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so you get to the end of the game and it's like, oh yeah, hey, that was the easy part. Now we're going to give you another weapon. You got to beat the game again, but it's harder. Pussy, go. So I just quit. I'm like, no, In my mind, I beat it because I beat Lucifer at the end once, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing that again. Then I learned like a year later they had a cheat code for it. I'm like, damn it. But, it's not the same. Because you beat it with the invincibility code, and it's like, I don't think it counts. I personally don't think it counts.
I mean, I think it kind of takes away a lot of what makes a game
competitive.
Game. Well, not even competitive, because not all games are competitive, but just any kind of entertainment. I mean, everyone finds entertainment in different ways, but if you're playing a very combat-oriented game, right, and you take away the combat, I mean, sure, it might look good. You know, maybe there's a story for you, but is it really like a game anymore?
No, at that point, it's an interactive movie.
Pretty much.
And some people are totally cool with that, but, you've got gamers that grew up playing games, competitively, whether you're playing against people online or playing against other people in person. In my case, I used to hustle in Street Fighter. I used to hustle for quarters.
Aren't you special?
That was the thing. Yeah, you'd put your quarters on the machine and you would hustle kids. Except there's
Why can't you just mug people like a normal person?
Because there's more challenge in beating them. Except for that 10-year-old Korean kid. I could never beat him. It didn't matter. That kid was there for hours. I don't think he had a home. I think he lived at the arcade.
Was it like when you were little and you think that teachers just live at the school? You think he just lived at the arcade?
I think his parents or mom or somebody worked at the mall that the arcade was in, because that kid was always there. He was just always there. And I'd get so mad. I would go in. Then I'm taking a side trip here, but like I'd go in to play Street Fighter Alpha 2. And I'd be like, oh, good. I have time to practice Street Fighter Alpha 2. I'm going to play against the CPU. I got about $10 quarters in my pocket. I had very big pockets. And I'm going to play here comes that kid. I'm like, damn it. Damn it. I don't even know your name, but you're going to come in and kick my ass and kick me off the machine. So then I walk around the mall and come back. He's still there. And he's still playing on the same quarter.
That's dark magic.
Yeah, it is. So I'd have to wait for him to finish the game. And I'd be like, okay, cool. End credits. He beat it. Get up off the... Oh my God, there goes another quarter. And he goes through as another character.
What if he's listening to this right now? And he's like...
No, he's still in the arcade.
That was that in a mall in 2021.
Yes. The last arcade in the last mall.
He's like 50 years old, hunched over the last working arcade machine in an abandoned mall, going, must beat the game. I must beat the game.
I think he was a ghost or something. I think like he had been crushed by an arcade machine and he was bound to that arcade just to make me feel bad.
Well, there's a TV show idea.
Yeah, that kid's just there. He's just there to make you feel. And then there was another one, the other arcade that was really good at Mortal Kombat. Another kid, he just would never. He'd come with his dad, and his dad would just stand there and like sneer at you. And this kid would just boom, boom, boom. Anyway,
yeah, we're doing a video.
We're doing a video, so those are my hangups. Look, I grew up playing games.
Save the kid hating for family therapy, Dad.
Competitively. You were trained to be competitive, right? Fighting games, shooting games, effing Pac-Man.
Why are you effing Pac-Man?
Nobody's effing Pac-Man.
No, No.
That's a Family Guy. Google it. Anyway.
I don't think I want to Google it.
No, don't. Let's go back to this. So Microsoft...
Yeah, let's be on topic for this very hyper-specific video.
Microsoft put this tweet out. Beating the game on the lowest difficulty is still beating the game.
Which I don't inherently disagree with. I guess my personal stance... My personal stance on it is if the developer includes different difficulty levels, it's okay to play it on whichever one you feel the most comfortable with. The issue stems from people basically demanding that all games must be on easy mode. And as we will talk about later, people who play games, quote unquote, professionally, who have never actually played a game on anything but easy mode, which creates some integrity questions.
Yeah, this is kind of like our class valedictorian. We caught her cheating a couple of times. Was she really the valedictorian? Or did some other kid get screwed out of it because she was always checking the palm of her hand for answers? I don't know. See, little questions like that I have.
Okay, just gonna toss in another anecdote there.
I am, because I do. I mean, look, I get
Patty palm reader.
Anyway, look, I get that some games are meant to, it's more about the experience of playing the games, but I about fell on my chair. Ghosts and effing Goblins has an easy mode. Like, not just an easy mode. I was watching gameplay, I'm like, you literally can't die. Like, and if you do die, instead of mocking you, for your lack of skill, and Ghosts and Goblins doesn't take much because it's a ridiculously hard game. That's part of the charm of the game series. Charm, anger-inducing, same thing. But they put a freaking easy mode on Ghosts and Goblins. I was like, what the hell are you thinking? Anyway, so they put this on. So we're talking about, it was probably 4 years ago that one of gaming's most tiresome, festering corners was at its peak. The GIT GUD crowd furiously policed the internet, looking for any and all signs of gaming weakness and swiftly punish it with pow-ons and abhorrently personal abuse. As Dark Souls 3 was at its peak of popularity and every other game was attempting to ride in from software's wake, along came Cuphead, and we entered a perfect storm of gamer douchebaggery.
Oh yeah, because if there is one horrifically toxic, inescapable fan base, it's the Cuphead people.
Yeah, so I forgot all about this guy. This is Dean Takahashi, who spent 26 minutes, as I understand it, kind of floundering around trying to beat the tutorial in the first level.
Well, no, 26 minutes total, that's all of his gameplay. But he basically spent a very strange, a very statistically unlikely amount of time in the tutorial trying to figure out the very first thing in the game, which is this infamous clip of him struggling repeatedly to understand this.
So,
which is, if this was a traditional player, I would get that.
That is the issue.
But
if you are 10 years old and your parents hated you and they got you
sweet Jesus,
Cuphead for Christmas. Oh crap, we got you Cuphead for Christmas.
I bought it myself.
Okay, never mind. So that's on you. And you get Cuphead for Christmas and it's the only game you get, then I can get this. I can get it. When you review video games for a living and you get paid a lot of money to review the games for a living, and it's not just like one game, like you start to see a pattern here, and it's a lot of games journalists, a lot of different games. A lot of these games are, Cuphead is a hard game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like, we're playing Farmville up in this piece. It's Cuphead.
Right.
Cuphead's hard.
It is a hard game. It's meant to be hard. But it does feel, I could be a little off base. I don't think I am. I could be a little off base. It does feel like some of these games journalists don't actually play as many video games as they claim to. That maybe they're collecting a paycheck, kind of piddling around in the game industry until they can move on to something else.
No. That maybe. What a fringe theory.
I know, it is.
I would like to point out here that, a lot of publications do this, but maybe when you have a massive team of games journalists, you should probably find someone who knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah, if you're not good at this,
you could have someone, you could have your Dark Souls guy who's good at all the Dark Souls games, plural, and could provide actual insight from an actual Dead Souls. What am I even talking about? Dark Souls player as to what this game is like compared to other games in the series. But just because he's good at Dark Souls doesn't mean he's the right guy for a Sims review. You gotta diversify.
Yeah, you do.
So I have a strong feeling that Mr. Cuphead might not have been the platformer guy.
Yeah, so, you get the platformer guy. But then, platformers are kind of, dying breed now. Those kind of run and gun games.
Really? Have you been on the Steam Indie page?
No, Steam Indie page. I'm talking more... Now, Cuphead was indie, but I'm talking more like mainstream. The mainstream... Like, those kinds of... I grew up playing those kinds of games. Like, you saw... Did you see the TurboGrafx? We got the TurboGrafx Mini, and, every game was a damn shooter.
Pretty much.
Everyone, it was same thing. Oh, this one's cute. This one's got sexy girls. This one's got zombies, but they're all basically the same game.
But it's like pinball, but for guns.
Yeah, punishingly hard, most of them. Anyway, I love this. There was a Kotaku, no, it was a Rock Paper Shotgun calling for a button that allowed players to skip boss fights.
Oh,
like,
yes.
What?
And this once again ties back to, like, if the developer included an easy mode and you play on, like, I guess that's fine because, you know, they included it. It might not be the intended experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least it's like, it's an option. This is what I have a problem with, which is basically people demanding that game studios change their own creative vision to make them happy, when realistically, they probably will never play that game.
Yeah. So this is the guy that wrote that article then. All right. So this this explains so much. I love this though. He's basically using it as an opportunity to throw shade. Next thing they're going to bring up Gamergate. I guarantee it. You know, all I did was write an article calling for a button that allows you to skip boss fights. This rather innocent suggestion that the whole of a game should be accessible to those who bought it was met with all manner of suggestions of how I should kill myself. Well, that's never okay.
No, that's never okay.
How I was proof of the demise of games journalism.
That is true.
Okay,
I don't. The first part, no. We do not do that. The second part, that's a bush that I'm willing to beat.
Beat that bush. Yeah, beat it on hard mode. So then you get bragging.
So telling your son to beat a bush on hard mode probably is not a good look.
I've got a stack of magazines in the garage I'd like you to look at. No, Electronic Gaming Monthly, not the other magazine. I got rid of those a long time ago. No, the Electronic Gaming Monthly magazines. All of the people who worked on EGM, they worked at EGM because they actually liked and played video games. Now, they didn't beat every game that they reviewed, but they had played enough games that they understood how games worked and they could play enough of the game to give a competent review to other gamers who were...
The keyword is competent.
Who were interested in whether or not the game was any good. Because if you're going to plunk down $50 for a game back in the day, you know, this is even before people could rent games or anything like that. You certainly couldn't download them. You wanted to know if the game was going to be good. And they would always, you know, factor in the challenge and all that. I think they gave Ghouls and Ghosts, if I remember, it got Game of the Year one year. And they were like, yeah, it's a damn good game, but oh my God, it's hard. It's really hard, but it's worth it. And yeah, the game was really hard, but it was worth it. I don't know if it was worth putting teeth marks on my controller, but you know, there it is. You must get good. In other words, it was a coordinated torrent of panic from scared little boys whose only source of pride was being threatened by mice. No. They want to know why you're getting paid like $100,000 a year
to dismantle, like literally try to dismantle what makes games fun.
You know, it's like, I don't understand what the problem is. You came to my restaurant, you ate my food. Why do I have to learn how to cook? I want to be a chef. Why do I have to learn how to cook?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you're a games journalist. We're not talking about somebody just anyway. So Xbox put this out, then Double Fine jumped in.
Now, I would like to point out that Double Fine, I'd say initially, I don't think they said anything inherently wrong. The problem I had was their then response to people who were like, is it though? Because Double Fine then proceeded to block people from their public account. They made some questionable comments to certain people on their Twitter replies.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they updated this story disclosure. Heather Alexandra, an ex-Kotaku staffer, currently works at Double Fine. Was she the social media manager?
I don't want to draw any conclusions.
I think you need to just kind of put this stuff out there and walk away from it.
I guess if it was bad enough that they had to make a clarification, there's probably some connection, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
No, here we go.
I would like to focus on this though.
Yeah. So Natalie here. I've never played a game for review on anything but the easiest difficulty and never will. Again, we're not talking about casual gamers or little kids getting games for Christmas or anything like that. We're talking about
people who are supposed to be professionals.
Adults who are being paid to review a game. Now, if you're not playing the game on normal difficulty when you're being paid to review the game, how can you give a fair assessment? Because a lot of times they'll nerf the game in the easy mode How are you gonna be able to tell people?
You can't. I think a lot of it is kind of like if you have, let's say you have someone who's a critic for a horror movie, right? Except they don't like scary things. So during all the scary parts, they cover their eyes. Sure, they could, give a review about like fair things like cinematography or the soundtrack, stuff like that, all of which are really important things that should be included in a review. But if you're reviewing a horror movie, but you're scared of horror movies and you're cutting out all the horror, then what are you really reviewing? You're kind of taking away what made that thing a unique thing and are instead just kind of like hyper-focusing on specific bits that don't make a complete review.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kotaku, they had a guy get a free PS5 to review, and he turned it into this anti-Trump rant. Like, how can I enjoy my PS5 when the world's burning? And then we had over at, or was that Kotaku or Polygon? I can't tell them apart. I think it was Polygon did the PS5 review. Kotaku was the one where they gave a woman an Xbox to review, and she was afraid of it because it had holes. And now we've got games journalists who are like, well, if you just
I don't even play games. I just look at the box art and I just give it a 7.
Yeah, right? I mean, or you steal somebody else's review. IGN, they steal somebody else's review. They steal somebody else's video and they get paid for it. Like, talk about phoning it in. It's ridiculous. This is why people are mad. It's not because games shouldn't be more accessible for average people. It's that if you're getting freaking paid for it, and these people are paid very well in many cases, overpaid.
But not well enough, according to some of them.
Yeah, right? Massively overpaid for what they do. Then you should at least be competent enough to, or at least learn how to play the game. That one dude playing Doom, that was just painful.
I think it was the...
Was it the same guy?
I think it was the Cuphead guy.
Oh my God.
Now, I would like to point out that, like, to review a game fairly, you don't have to play, like, Ultra Nightmare super hard mode.
No.
Just play it on normal. I'm assuming that's how the developer intended it to be played, and reviewing it on that level is kind of what people expect. Because if your review says something like, oh, this game's too easy, but you played on easy, then it's like, well, good doy.
As a baseball expert, I've never played without a T, and I never will.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Fair enough.
So you're missing, again, games journos. You're missing the point. You're missing the reason why people are angry. They're like, you are literally getting paid to review games, and you're like, that's too hard.
And, like, I've met people who are legitimately, like, ludicrously insane about, like, oh, you have to play exclusively on hard mode. Which
yeah.
I don't believe. But that's not why people are upset. They're upset that, like, you are kind of half-baking these reviews.
That's the problem. You're getting paid for it. Again, if it was like, little Timmy getting it for his birthday, and, he put some teeth marks in his controller, and his mom didn't want him to, eat his controller, and, oh, hey, Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins has an easy mode. Yeah, hey, that'll help. Then that's okay.
Like if you paid money for the product yourself,
right,
and the game has, difficulty options, play it however you want, you bought it. But if you're like a journalist who is expected to get this game and then review it fairly, it seems fair to review it at least on the difficulty that most people will be playing it on, because that's why they're reading your review.
I went to go review a movie, and I got bored about 20 minutes into it. So I went to use the bathroom, and then I'm like, hey, they got Sbarros over here. I don't see Sbarros very much. And then I'm going to go over and get calzone. And then I'm going to go to the arcade. Crap, that Korean kid's still sitting there. And then I'm going to go back for the end credits. Yeah, I only watched like 20 minutes of the movie, but I'm going to write a review.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because it's not fair. It's not fair to pay me to watch the entire movie. I mean, come on. Who has 2 hours to spend to watch a whole movie?
And the ironic thing is saying, I was bored 20 minutes in. that's a fair enough thing to include in your review, as long as you review the whole thing. It's kind of like this, you know, saying the game is hard might not be something that you like, but that might be something that people see and they're like, oh, I need to play this then.
Yeah, so this is why gamers don't really take the opinions of Kotaku, Polygon, Vice, etc., seriously anymore. This is why their traffic is dying off. This is why the new editor of, I think it was Kotaku, was like, yeah, I know, it's like we're just not really doing so good with the games anymore. We're gonna have to maybe start doing some more politics or something. I don't know. This is why, because all the gamers left. They all left because they're like, we can't trust your opinions.
I mean, if you want, you can take advice from our boy John over here, right? And you can just skip all their reviews.
There you go. We're skipping all your reviews because they're not.
It's a valid option.
It's too hard. It's too painful to read them.
Yeah.
Gonna wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. That's your job. I'm just here.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
I have to say that.
Yeah, you do. Goodbye.